Good morning, TAB students. We're going over a little bit of practice with the PSAT and SAT. And one of the things I'd like us to do is to understand the test, how to take it, how they score it, and have it make sense for you. So when you're in that environment and you're sitting down for that 3-4 hour test, you kind of have a strategy in place. So I wanted to show you a little bit about how it's scored. And then we're going to do a few problems together to make sure that you understand how the SAT, PSAT actually works and what they expect out of you. So let's go ahead and begin here. Let me show you, these are the questions and answers from a previous test. And you can see how they have, how many questions are up here. They also talk about how difficult they are and how some are hard, some are medium, some are easy. And if you notice, this is the reading part. There's quite a few questions in there. I'm going to focus today on the math part since I do teach math. So let's take a look at the math part and just break it down a little bit. There are going to be 3 sections to the math test. In each section, you have about 25, maybe 30 minutes to complete it. And you can see how many questions are in each section. There's a total of about 54 problems that you have to do in those sections. So they split them up. You do some math and some reading and math and reading and so on. These are all multiple choice. What I want you to focus in on is look at how many questions are labeled as being hard. So the H1, those are the hard questions in this section. Over here, this is the part where they actually have, this is where you do multiple choice. This is where you actually just have to plug in a number, or rather bubble in a number. And notice how there's some hard ones over here. And the last one is all multiple choice. And notice how there's some hard ones in here. We're going to focus in on a math SAT or a math PSAT score and what it actually is going to look like. All right, so from there, this is a breakdown of what I just showed to you. Okay, in section 3, there are 20 questions. 17 of them are considered easy to medium. 3 are considered difficult. On section 6, there are 8 questions. 7 are considered medium to easy. 1 is difficult. The bubble in the answer has 7, which are considered medium. 3 are difficult. In the last section, section 9, has 16 questions. 15 are considered medium or easy. 1 is considered difficult. This is a pretty standard breakdown of how they do the SAT and the PSAT. Most of the questions are reasonable, and then some of them are going to be a little bit more challenging. So over here, show this to you. Let me back out of this a little bit. Okay, this is how they actually score the SAT. So you can kind of get a sense of how it works. What you basically have to do with this is add up the number you get correct, add up the number you get wrong, and essentially you take the number you get wrong, divide it by 4, subtract it from the total number you get right. So on the math portion, for example, here, okay, you had that section 3, how many you got right and wrong. This section here, the 1 through 8, right and wrong. When you have to bubble in the answer, you're not penalized if those are wrong. So you can bubble in whatever you want, not a problem. And then here's section 6 down here. So what you're going to do is you're going to add up the scores, how many you got right, add up how many you got incorrect, and from there you're going to divide by 4 and subtract it from the total. That's how you get an SAT, PSAT score. So here's a little breakdown of what we just had with this previous one. So let's take a look at this scenario. If you have 54 questions, 46 are medium or easy, 8 are difficult. Let's say you did perfectly. You got all the medium, easy questions right, and you got all the hard ones incorrect. What would your raw score be? Well, your raw score would be the 46 you got right minus the 8 divided by 4, which would give you a raw score of 44. That puts you, this one's a little bit off, that puts you close to about a 700 on the SAT. If you got all those questions right, all those questions are considered medium and easy, and didn't get any of the hard ones right, you're right around a 700, okay, in that vicinity. If you just got half of them right, okay, that's all I got was half right, 27 right, 27 wrong, what's your SAT score, PSAT score? Is 27 minus 27 divided by 4, which is about 6 something. So they take the whole number. That gives you 21. That puts you around about a 450 to 500. That's a little bit below the national average if you got half right and half wrong. So if you get approximately 30 questions right, or 31 out of 54, you're right at the national average for the SAT PSAT score. The PSAT score is very simply, instead of 440 to 500, it's 44 to 50. They just take the zero off the end of it. That's all they're going to do. Let's say you did something a little bit in between with a raw score of about 70%, and you got 37 right, 17 wrong. That would give you a raw score of 33. That will give you a score, well, it's going to be more on the higher end, closer to about a 600 if you got a 70%. 600 is a pretty good score on the SAT. At tabs, we would like you to get into the mid 600s on the SAT and the PSAT. Anything above that is amazing, but try to focus in on getting into that range where you're up over the 500 mark and into the 600 mark. So here's the table where this came from. This is basically how the SAT runs questions. I want to focus in on the math one. And when you do the math problems, basically what you do is you start out down here. The lowest score you can get is a 200. From there, essentially it's this. Every question you get right, you get 10 points added to your score. That's kind of how they do the test. So if you got just one right, you might get up to 210. If you got 30 right, you might add 300 to this score and get up to 500. So think of every question when you look at it. This is a 10-point question. And once again, the base is a 200. The maximum score up here is an 800. And you can also get an 800 even if you don't get a perfect score, but that's as high as you can go in terms of that. So 54 questions, 10 points apiece is about 540 points. Added to 200 is about 740. So that's generally, when you think about it, process it as thinking of they're 10-point questions. And every 10 points you can get, go ahead and go for it. So from there, what I want to do is I want to take a look at a few questions with you and just kind of do them and see if you understand how the SAT, PSAT works. And I'll give you a minute to look at it, and I'll take a minute. We'll just go through maybe about 6 or 7 questions, see if you got a feel for it. And what I like to do on a regular basis, if we can, is maybe go through about 15 or 20 questions in advisory each time we do this, and just get an idea of how does this thing work? How does it look? So let me put these questions up and see how you do with them. So if you can get out a pencil and paper, and we're going to take a look at these problems right here so everybody can see this. That one's pretty good. Get my system down here. Okay, so here's question number 1. Question number 1 asks you to find the value of this diamond here. 3 plus the diamond over 2 equals 7 over 1/2. This is basically a level 1 question. This is very easy. It should take you about 15 seconds to answer it. So let me give you a few seconds there. See what you think about it, how that's going to work. And if you're taking more than about 30 seconds in the beginning of these problems, you're probably taking too long. They're supposed to be pretty quick. So on this first question, if you think about it, do you see where if you just turned that 7 1/2 into 15 over 2, obviously the answer to that question is 12. Okay, so this is a very basic question. It's just a matter of rewriting the mixed number as an improper fraction. So if you got 12 for that one, if you got D, well done on that question there. I'll look at the next one. The next one is also considered an easy question. So if you take a look at this one, set it up. Notice how you've got these angles here. And it's talking about which angles are congruent. So if they say that 2 and 4 are equal, if 2 and 4 are equal, this is actually just a visual. And if this takes you more than 20 seconds, you're way overthinking the problem. So if 2 and 4 are equal, you don't even have to know the names of the angles, even though those are called vertical angles. What other angles are equal to these two right here? Well, obviously, it's these two right here. If you chose those two, you're done. That's considered an easy question. So not much there in terms of content. It's actually something I would say even someone in 8th or ninth grade could do pretty easily. It would not be difficult for them to do something like that. And you're doing this basically for college entrance. So these are the kind of questions you should really never get wrong because they're that basic of a question. Take a look at this next one. This next one down here is question number 4. Now, question 4, this is also considered an easy question. Let me give you a moment to read the question and see if you can make some sense out of it. And take a second to see if you can do that. All right. So once again, what makes this a little bit more challenging question, even though it's still considered easy? Well, the fact is you have to read the paragraph. And you will discover as you take standardized tests that the most difficult thing about some of these questions are reading the question, comprehending it. So as you read through this question, it basically was identifying what A of K was and K was. So all you had to do there is to plug 15 into the formula. And if you plugged it in, then you saw 4 times 15 is 60 minus 30. 30 was the answer. So if you got that answer, job well done. Not a difficult question to do. Once again, that was the last one that's considered easy. Now if we come over here to this question, up in the top here, take a look at this question right here. This is considered a medium question. So take a moment, see if you can look at question number 5. See if you understand what's going on there with that one, what a medium question actually looks like. Okay, so give me about 10 seconds to look at it. So the first medium question we have, it looks confusing. So if you will take the time to actually just write out what they tell you, sometimes as you're writing it, it actually comes to you what the answer is. So if they said XR equals V and V equals KR, well, by the transitive property, those are equal. So K is equal to X is equal to K. So the value of K they're looking for was X. So if you got this one right, that's considered a medium question when you did that one. All right, look at the next one. This next one over here is question number 7. Okay, question 7 is considered to be a medium question also. So take a minute, see if you understand what's going on there. They start to get a little bit tricky as they go along. So if you wrote it out, all right, so let's see if you came up with the answer on this one. So on this question here, what you had was the following, right? 18 square root of 18, we simplify by taking out the perfect square inside the radical. So we have 54 and 2. But the reason this is a medium question, it doesn't say what does the R value equal to. You then have to take the R and T value and multiply them together. So that's why you should have had an answer of 108. Okay, so that was the last of the medium questions that you have right there. Look at this next page. Just got a couple more to wrap up here. This one is down here. This is question number 10. On question number 10, this is considered an easy question, but in this one, you have to actually bubble in the answer. So read the question for a second, see if you understand what they're asking you for. Asking you to do, rather. All right, so from there, pretty straightforward question, right? Just add the two numbers together. So if you add the two numbers together, divide by 2, you get 57.5. And that would be your answer for that question. All right, so that's considered easy. Look at this next question over here. This is question number, where am I at? Right here. Question number 11. Look at this one right here. Question 11, as you look at it, think about what it's talking about just for a second. Draw a picture of a triangle and see if you can label the sides according to what they said. It says one is 30, one is 50. There's a second one that's going to be the same. What's the smallest possible perimeter of that triangle? This one is also considered an easy question. It's not that difficult to do. So as you set it up, should everybody draw something to look like this? So what is the smallest of these two? Well, if both of them were 50, that's 130. If both were 30, that's 110. So 110 would be the answer on question 11. Okay. Take a look at question number 12, and we'll finish on this problem. So we're not really going to do any difficult questions today. So on question 12, read that for a second. Sorry. There it is. There's an algebraic way to do this, or there's another way. And the more you practice the SAT, the more savvy you become about how to answer these questions. So as you're taking a look at things, just experiment. And this question shouldn't take you very long to do. Okay, so on this one, if you were to take a look at it, notice how it said x squared minus y equals 77, x plus y equals 11. You could have actually made an educated guess on this. Because if you picked 8 and 3, for example, you would see how it would be less than 77. So this number has to be a little bit bigger. So 9 plus 2 is 11. 9 squared minus 2 is 77. So the answer on that problem would have been x equals 9. And those, once again, are considered medium questions for you to do. So as you take a look at preparing for the PSAT or the SAT, take the time to practice so you're familiar with how the test is actually administered. And then once again, think of each question that you're doing as a 10-point problem that you're going to have to work with. So it's been my pleasure to be with you today. Good luck on the PSAT, SAT, and let me know if it can be of any help in the future as we try to do some more problems together. Good night, everybody.